Hello everyone, this is Troy from Dashcam Owners Australia, and today I'm bringing you another dashcam review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Mini 0806 from Gearbest.com. You may remember I've already reviewed the Mini 0803. This is the newest edition in the Mini lineup. This camera is available for about $160 Australian, and I'll have a coupon code down in the description that'll bring the price down by about $5. Now we'll start off with some of the specs on this particular camera. As you can see here, we do a 2560 at 1080p, which is like a very wide angle 1080p. We do 2304 by 1296p at 30 frames, 1080p at 45 frames a second, 1080 at 30 frames per second, and 720p at 60 and 30 frames per second. Now, interesting feature on this camera, you can have 2 times 128GB memory cards. It has 2 separate slots there, so this is probably one of the biggest storage devices on the market at the moment. And on top of that, we have GPS speed and position, as well as forward collision warning system, lane departure warning system, motion detection, G-sensor, a circular polarizing filter to cut down on reflections from the windscreen, high dynamic range for the video, and as you can see if you pause, plenty of other features there. Now we'll take a look at everything you get in the box with this camera, and starting from the top left we have our user manual, the circular polarizing lens filter, as I just mentioned, a few different 3M sticky pads there, our charging cable which is 4 meters long, our USB cable, our mount, and the camera itself. Now we'll take a look at a few different angles of the camera. Here's the view from the back. We have our 3 main menu buttons there, as well as the screen, and our 3 indicator lights. Now take a look from the front of the camera. You can see not a lot to see there, no buttons, just the lens. The circular polarizing lens filter isn't on at the moment, it's just magnetic and sits around the lens. Now side on, just our power button for turning the camera on and off. From the top we have our first memory card slot, as well as our USB connectivity, and on the actual mount you'll see where the power is. And on the bottom we have our HDMI out and our second SD card slot. Now here it is mounted in the car. As you can see, it's almost identical in size to the Mini 0803, and there again, just sitting in front of the mirror, nice and tucked up there out of the driver's view. Now, as the menu on this camera is almost identical to the 0803, I'm not going to go into it in depth. It's basically the same as the last 2 cameras, and all the features were listed on the back of the box, so I'm not going to go into each menu in detail today. We'll just get started with some footage. And on that note, as this camera records in 1296p and my editing software does not export in that size, the footage you see may not represent the original quality. Alrighty, into the footage we go. I'll start off with a nice hard one for the camera. Early morning, driving straight into the sun, but as you can see it's not phasing this camera one little bit. It does an amazing job on the quality. I really don't have any other word to use there. Dash cameras have certainly come quite a way in the last few years, but as you can see this camera is just still crystal clear. That's the only word I can use there. I can still read the signage, read the license plates, even with the sun just blaring straight direct on into the lens. And as you'd expect, on a nice overcast cloudy day, it's even better. It's basically just look for yourselves. I can't really say much more about it, but all the cars there, clear, crystal clear license plates, crystal clear detail. What I'll do in a minute is I'll just go to some early evening footage. We'll get into how this camera handles during the darker times. And here we are, just coming on to basically dusk here, starting to lose the light, but this camera still does a nice job, pulling all the light from the shops here in this shopping centre, and as you can see, all the business names, license plates, still very clear at this time of the evening. Now I'll move on to some proper dark footage, no street lights whatsoever, just my headlights. And in a minute I'll hit my high beams and just to see how quickly it can adjust to that. And in the next clip I will also stop talking for a moment so you can hear what the actual camera is like from its onboard microphone. And I'll cut to that now just so you can hear my lovely voice again. Alright, here's just the standard little microphone test, so hopefully what I'm saying now is coming through fairly clearly. From what I've heard on this camera so far, it does a very good job on the mic. And there you have it. As you can hear, the camera does quite a nice job with its onboard microphone. Daytime, nighttime footage, both excellent. But in a moment, I'll just cover my likes and dislikes of the particular camera, and I'll also mention a few other things that you need to know. So my likes for this camera are the seamless recording. It's basically a must on any camera these days. Excellent day-night footage. It's definitely up there with a lot of the high-end cameras. The 1296p starting to become the standard now, but you really can't go past it. 2 memory card slots. What can I say? I love having the ability to store lots of footage on my cameras, so that's great for me. GPS and driver stamp if you'd like that on the footage. There's the option to turn it off if you don't. And the small size on the camera is perfect if you want to stay and keep it hidden. And as with all things, there are a few things that I don't like. The magnetic circular polarizing lens filter, while it's a nice addition to this camera, it wasn't particularly strong in staying on the camera. Mine fell off probably after a week. I'd probably hit a bump or something, which is fairly common on Sydney's roads. If you're going to leave it on permanently, you'd probably have to end up putting a little drop of super glue there to stop it from falling off. Now, this is a point I don't like having to bring up, but there was quite a few issues with the first run of these cameras. From what I was told, 7% defective rate coming out of the factory, but from what I've been told now, they have adjusted their inspection rates, and none of those cameras that were having major focusing issues are being let out of the factory now. That being said, my camera did have a small issue with its GPS, not always getting the position. Sometimes it would be working, other times it wasn't, but apart from that, I can't really fault the camera, but time will tell with these things. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this review, and thank you for watching.